Hey everybody, it's Kyle with Faith on Tap. As you can tell, I am on the road. I'm coming to you from my hotel room in Seattle. Real quick catch up. Next episode, Friday, September 18th, we will be back at Gordon Biersch. North Park will again be providing childcare, so parents, you're welcome. Our speaker for this episode is going to be MaryAnn McKibben Dana. She is a nationally recognized voice in the Presbyterian Church, and we are excited to have her. She's going to be talking about the improvising nature of God, how God has shown up in spontaneous ways throughout the scriptures. She is going to be a guest speaker at First Pres Dallas all weekend, and we're really grateful to Bonnie Edwards on staff there for making her available to us. Thank you, Bonnie. You can find links to MaryAnn's website and some of her YouTube videos in the description. Now on to the video. This was a rough week after a really great session that we had on Sunday. We had the news of the shooting in Virginia, and that led to some really intense and some good conversations on Facebook. If you follow me on my personal page, then you'll know that there was some heated debate over there. Some of that debate was good, and some of it was just really frustrating, and that was really weighing heavily on me. Why did this whole situation, especially the conversations that I had with some friends, leave me feeling the way that it did? One of the things I really started thinking about was bias, and how Facebook is such a wonderful tool, but is a magnifier for the biases that we carry with us. Not only the biases that we think about that shape our political views, but also the subconscious biases that plague our perception of reality. So I took to the web, got on Wikipedia, looked at a few other sources, and tried to find out everything that I could about bias. And, really dig into the coping mechanisms that we've developed in order to live in a really complex society. Found everything that you would expect, that we live in an echo chamber that reinforces the existing beliefs that we already have, that when we do get a piece of information that forces us to move just a little bit off of our belief system, that we don't do it enough. And that sometimes when we have a piece of information that really flies into the face of what we believe, it makes us believe harder in that thing that may be wrong, that maybe the world is telling us that we need to reconsider. Another bias we have is towards repetitive information, that if we keep on saying something, that we believe that it'll be true. Feeding into that, if you hear something more than once, you're more likely to believe that it's true regardless of the sources that you're hearing it from. And then the one that's just comical is if something rhymes, we're more likely to believe that versus something that doesn't rhyme. O.J. Simpson, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. How in the world did we develop satellite technology if we can be fooled by a limerick? The ones that were really scary were a little more harmful than that. There was one that I read about that really struck a chord called The Illusion of Asymmetrical Insight. And that's belief that I know myself and I know you better than you know me and better than you know yourself. So if I assume that I have more knowledge of your inner workings as a person than you do, what does that tell you about the level of respect that I'm going to have for you during an argument? Another thing that we've heard a lot about, especially with income inequality, is this thing called an empathy gap. And in the terms of income inequality, we come to think of this empathy gap as the inability of a richer class to sympathize with a poorer class. But the clinical definition of an empathy gap means that you don't believe that another person feels things as deeply as you do. And that's a little bit more profound. That's a little bit more troubling. And it leads to this idea that if you're not feeling the issue like I'm feeling the issue, then you can't understand it the way that I understand it. And I can't believe what you're telling me because you're operating from a base that's less valid than I am. The thing that bothered me the most about this whole thing is that I go back and I read all of the comments and the discussion, and I mean there's miles of them. And one of the biggest offenders of all these biases is me. And that's the last one. It's called the blind spot bias. And you can pick them out in other people, but you can't see them in yourself. And I'm having trouble finding my own biases, and I know they're there, and I know that they make it just as frustrating for the other person as they're making it for me. And something that I'm going to really be paying attention to in all of our conversations from here on out is, where are my biases showing up? Where is my subconscious working against me and relating to another person as the person that they are, as the person that God made them? Promised myself I wouldn't go over 5 minutes. I have gone over 5 minutes. Links to everything in the description. Can't wait to see everybody on September 18th. Take care. Faith on tap. That's no good way to start.